What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing here, back with another video, and in today's video, guys, me going over the Eminence and Shadow collaboration pickup draw, going over whether or not you guys should be summoning on the banner just based on how good the units are, the banner value itself, and whether or not it's going to be worth it for you specifically. So if you guys do enjoy videos like this, man, definitely make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as we are on the road to that 51,000 subscribers. I definitely do appreciate the support on the channel, guys, and with that out of the way, man, let's hop in and let's talk the characters on the banner. So starting off with the first character here, we have Shadow. So what we'll do is we'll go over each of the characters' kits, and then we'll hop into the banner. I'll give you guys my thoughts on the banner, and I'll let you guys know whether or not it's worth something in my opinion. So starting off with the passive here for leader Shadow. So starting off, his passive is not going to be able to be used in Demonic Beast what is that? No, Deathmatch, sorry. But everything else you can use them in. So pretty much every other content in the game, feel free to actually use Shadow, and you're going to be able to be completely fine. So the basic stats of applicable allies increase by 5% for each one participating in the battle. Applicable allies is going to be humans and fairies. The hero gains Moonlight at the start of the battle. Moonlight is going to be attack related stats plus 30% and damage dealt plus 40%. Now magic control effects applied to attackers equal to the number of applicable allies that take damage from skills during the enemy's turn, or the targets whenever the hero uses a skill for 2 turns. And magic control is going to be minus 15% all target attack damage dealt, and inflicts additional damage equal to 4% of remaining HP at the end of the turn, and it's going to stack up to 5 times. Now for each magic control effect applied to the enemies, applicable allies damage taken decreases by 5% up to a maximum of 40, and all stats of the hero increase by 3% up to a maximum of 30. Whenever there is 5 or more magic control effects on enemies, fluidity is applied to the hero for 2 turns, and fluidity is going to inflict additional damage equal to 30% of the hero's max HP, and increases max HP by 40% when using a skill. Fluidity is applied to the hero if there are 5 or more magic control effects on the enemy at the start of the ally's turn, not during whenever you just get it, right? It has to be at the start of the ally's turn. Now hopping into these skills here, guys. First skill is going to inflict Shadow Rend damage equal to 500% of attack on one enemy. Shadow Rend is going to be 2 times critical chance increase and plus 20% damage dealt for each magic control effect on enemies. Now Blazing Dart is going to be inflicting Flood damage equal to 280% of attack on all enemies and infects them for 2 turns. Flood is, your standard stuff there with 0.8% additional damage for every percent of remaining HP on self, and then Infect is going to restrict recovery related stats. And then moving on to his ultimate here, guys, I Am Atomic, applies fluidity on the hero for 2 turns, then applies 4 magic control effects on all enemies, and inflicts Shadow Rend damage equal to 525% of attack. Shadow Rend is going to be the crit chance, and then the damage dealt for the magic control effects. So yeah, in terms of the dupe levels and the scaling, guys, the scaling is not as important. I was going to say the other characters. It definitely is good, but the one thing that you would have to take into account is the 2 out of 6 effect versus the 1 out of 6. So 1 out of 6, you would only be getting the fluidity and the max HP at 20%. At 2 out of 6, you would get a magic control effect, and you would be getting 25% at the minimum for both. So obviously that's going to scale up on the dupes, and you can go from 1 all the way to 4 out of 6 out of 6 for the magic control, and then your percents will go up from 25 to 30 and 25 to 40 from 2 out of 6. So is that going to be something that's worth for you? You'll have to make that decision yourself, guys, because I really don't think chasing dupes is ever like an insane thing to kind of do unless you really like the character. But like overall, I would say like a 2 out of 6 would be perfect for this character if that's where you kind of want to just stop at. Moving on now, guys, to the second character of the collaboration, which is going to be Shadow Garden First Member Alpha. So hopping into the passive video, it's going to be applicable in all content as long as she is on the field. Increases heroes basic stats by 8% for each applicable ally participating in the battle, applicable allies being fairies and Shadow himself. Applies Misform on applicable allies for 2 turns at the start of the battle. Misform is going to only take damage from basic stats when attacked, and the effect is removed after 2 attacks. And when the effect is removed, the critical defense of the hero it is removed from increases by 70% for 2 turns. When applicable allies use 3 or more skills during the ally's turn, the suppressed damage taken effect is applied to applicable allies for 1 turn as well, limit of once. And the suppressed damage taken is going to be damage taken from enemy skills do not exceed the 40% of maximum HP. And when an applicable ally other than the hero uses a single target attack, Sword of Penetration is applied to the hero for 3 turns, and Sword of Penetration is going to be Pure Straight plus 60% and damage dealt plus 40%, stacking up to 3 times. When the hero uses Flash Cut, one Sword of Penetration effect is removed. Now, moving on to her skills, we have Flashka here, which is going to be 500% of attack on one enemy. Flashka has 3 times pierce rate and 70% attack for each sort of penetration effect on the hero when using skills. So this skill is going to be very, very strong, obviously, with the the effect that we have from the passive. Now, moving on to the next skill, I want to preface something about this skill, guys. The rank 1 is an attack skill, by the way, so bear that in mind. Inflicts damage equal to 450% of attack on one enemy and disables attack skills for 2 turns. So on the 1 out of 3, I guess, like on the rank of the skill, right, you actually are still able to attack skill. I think it's just going to be 1 turn, but it is able to attack skill, which is crazy. So bear that in mind, as that is something that's really, really strong for this character. And then moving on to our ultimate here, guys, Phantom Mist. Increases the hero's attack related stats by 50% for 2 turns, then inflicts Flashka damage equal to 600% of attack on all enemies. And we already talked about Flashka being the pierce rate and the 70% attack for every sort of penetration, right? So yeah, and then in terms of the scaling here, guys, I would say the scaling on Alpha is probably the weakest versus all the other characters, because I feel like you're not really gonna need the actual benefit the most. I think at most 2 out of 6, again, just like with Shadow, is gonna be the way to go, because you get the 40% damage cap versus the 50, which is gonna be at the 1 to 6, right? You would obviously want a less damage cap because it's gonna be better for the character to tank better versus like a 50% damage cap where Tarmiel Link might not heal back as much. So, just kind of bear that in mind. Alrighty, guys, now moving on to the final character of the collaboration, second member, Beta. So hopping into her passive is a backline support in all content, by the way, which is very, very good. For each applicable ally participating in the battle, their basic stats are going to increase by 6%. This is going to be for fairies and for Shadow. For each buff applied to an applicable ally, their attack related stats are going to increase by 4% to a limit of 6 times. When applicable allies take damage, they recover 15% of maximum HP at the start of the ally's turn, and when the hero when the hero enters the battle, Shadow is applied to the applicable allies for 2 turns, and Shadow is going to be pierce rate plus 80% and damage taken minus 40%. Whenever the hero uses a buff skill, applicable allies defense related stats is going to increase by 15% to a limit of 3 times as well. And then hopping into her skills here, her first skill is going to be gauge reduction single target. We don't know yet if it's going to be the 2 gauge on the rank 2 or if it's just going to be the 1 gauge on the rank 2. We'll have to find out once it's in game. But then on the next skill that we have here is going to be the remove debuffs from all allies and increase defense related stats by 80% for 3 turns. And then moving on to our ultimate hero, guys, applies Shadow on all allies and increases the hero's crit chance by 150% for 3 turns, then inflicts spike damage equal to 850% of attack on one enemy. Shadow is going to be pierce rate plus 80%, damage taken minus 40, and then spike is obviously your double damage on crits, right? So that's obviously very, very good. And then the main thing on the dupes for Beta here, guys, which is going to be the scaling, and I would say this is actually very, very important, is going to be the scaling on her attack related stats per buff. So this is actually very good because the minimum is going to be 6, but if you actually, the minimum is going to be 4, but if you want to get max dupe, it would become 6. So that is a very massive increase in terms of, you're getting an extra 8% attack related stats for your fairy characters, right? Like, that's really, really good. So that's something where I feel like if you are going to chase dupes on any of the characters, it would definitely be Beta just because of her longevity as a backline and providing that up to, it'd be 26% of the attack related stats, which is really good. Alright, guys, now the last thing I do want to mention about the character specifically is they also do have holy relics. So for Shadow, it's going to increase the hero's critical resistance and critical defense by 20% for each applicable ally participating in the battle, being humans or fairies. For Alpha there, it's going to be when the hero uses a single target attack to defeat an enemy, all debuffs are removed from applicable allies and they are healed to 50% of maximum HP, limit of 2 times, and applicable allies is going to be Fairy and Shadow. And then for Beta there, it's going to decrease all enemies damage dealt by 40% for 2 turns whenever the hero uses a buff skill, and all these holy relics are going to be active when the character is in the battlefield in all content. Alrighty, guys, so now that we're done talking the actual characters themselves, is the banner going to be worth summoning on? Because if we actually go to the banner, this is the lineup right here. So you have Shadow, Alpha, Beta, we have the Blue Zaneri, we have the Jelly King, we have the red and green Golden Wings Elaine, you have the green Gloxinia, blue Roxy, red Tyr, red Magelda, red Freya, green Matrona, blue Tristan, and blue Nanashi. So overall, this is not the greatest banner in terms of filler, you know, again, this is a collab banner, right? So, you know, and because it's a first run collab banner as well, each of the rate up units are going to be 0.25% rates, which means they're not the greatest in terms of being able to pull them. And, you know, because none of the characters are free, you're going to have to go at minimum, if you get insanely unlucky, you would have to go 3 rotations to get one of each character, which is asking for a lot considering we do have anniversary in about a month's time. So am I really going to recommend someone go, you know, even 1 rotation on this banner? I would definitely say like 1 rotation could be valuable, especially if you're going for beta, because I do see the value in beta long term versus the rest of the characters where I don't necessarily know how long they'll last in the game. You know, the main thing with beta that I noticed versus all the other characters is that she is providing a backline support effect, and she is the best backline at the moment for the fairy team. She's just outright better than any other backline you could run because of the fact that she's going to have insanely high CC, and she's going to be providing all this stuff, you know, just for free, right? Just by being in the backline. And when she does come out, you're going to be giving your allies the shadow effect with the pierce rate and the damage reduction. So she still even provides as she comes onto the battlefield. So it's still going to be, in my opinion, one of the better characters of the collab. And just for the longevity of someone's account, if you're going for like a fairy team in the future, she's definitely going to be a must pick up. So my whole thing right now, guys, is if you're going to be summoning on this banner, I would only do 1 rotation, and I would go for beta at the pity. If you're someone that just likes the collab in general and you don't really care about what's coming out in Grand Cross anytime soon, guys, then by all means go crazy on this banner. Like, if you like Eminence and Shadow, I'm not going to tell you not to summon, just summon, right? Like, this is a banner that you would play the game to summon the characters for, right? Like, at that point you might as well just go for the characters. If you're only chasing meta, you know, as I mentioned, beta would be the must pick up. And then for anyone that just wants to get all the characters, then yeah, I mean, going for, you know, 1 of each at the minimum and then stopping, I would say would be a completely good thing to do. Yeah, so I really don't think, like, even though I mentioned the dupes being good at 2 out of 6, I'm not going to tell you to chase for 2 out of 6 if you could just get 1 of each. 1 of each is still better than not being able to, you know, get the 2 out of 6 in general, right? On like 1 of them, let's say, right? So yeah, that's what I'll say at the end of the day. I think it's, you know, beta's going to be the best one, and then I'll probably have a Shadow being the second best, and then Alpha being not necessarily bad, but she would be the weakest of the 3 in my opinion, just based on what I'm seeing. But Shadow, I think, could maybe be outdone by Alpha, just based on Alpha having the attack seal on the rank 1. That is insanely strong. So with that being said, guys, I do think at the end of the day, if you're planning to summon on this banner, you should only be summoning on the banner if you're someone that really likes Eminence and Shadow or wants to prep for fairies in the future. And if that's the case, then this is definitely a banner worth summoning on. Other than that, the filler is not that crazy. Blue Scenario is definitely a fairly solid pickup, I would say, for most people, just because, you know, she's fairly new and, you know, she's still pretty solid as well on humans. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on the banner. Let me know if you guys can be summoning on this banner in the comment section below. And also remember that we're getting free 4 free multis on the actual banner itself through tickets, so the rest will be in gems. So you'll only have to spend, I think it's what, like 460 gems if I'm not mistaken, right? Something along those lines. Where to be, I don't know, maybe 470, right? Yeah, I think it's something along those lines. But anyways, that is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, guys, and let me know in the comments below if you guys are going to be summoning on the banner. So that's going to be it, and I'm going to see you guys on the next one, man. Peace out. Have a good rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.